It's Friday.
Welcome to This List Sucks, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
We are back.
We're back. Back and better than ever. Like 6 days later. All right.
This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Welcome back, everybody. It's This List Sucks. I'm Mike.
I'm JB. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday. I love Fridays.
I do too. I look forward to them every week.
I do too. I look forward to the podcast, but I also cheat because I only work until like 1 p.m. on Fridays.
Oh.
And so Fridays are it just rips. Every Friday rips for me.
Everything about Friday is good for you.
Dude, everything. But this is still my favorite part of Fridays. This is still my favorite part of Fridays. You know,
I work very little on Friday too, although it's later in the day. So, but still, it's a pretty easy day. So,
yeah.
and I have this to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. So, welcome everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. And we're coming close to the end of another group of 25. So we got some picks that we're going to make at the end of the show.
Yeah.
And
we are at the end, right? Today?
Yes, absolutely.
That's what you meant. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. At the end of today's show, we're going to go back through the last 5 groups of 5.
Yeah.
And we'll pick out our favorites.
So we'll be going through 450 through 426, basically.
You got it. You got it. What else are we going to do this week? Oh, we're going to do another bonus show.
Yep. Another bonus show
at the end of this. And it's a smoker.
Yes. It's a good one. So stick around for that.
Yep.
No guest this week. Just boring old me and Mike, who's not boring, but I am.
JB.
Yeah. But you know what? We're going to try to do our best to give you a good show, even without Lee Stamper of onlylee.com. So
even without,
shout out to him though for joining us. Sorry, you go ahead, Mike.
Shout out Lee. Well, and no, you go because
that's all I was going to say.
Well, so before the podcast started, JB and we were getting caught up, and JB's mom, loyal listener.
Yes.
What's your mom's name?
Lori. Lori is my mom's name.
Lori, thank you so much for listening and all of the constructive criticism that you and that everybody else give us. We absolutely love it. But unbeknownst to us, last week at the tail end of the show, we thought that we had lost Lee Stamper's audio.
We did.
Well, we actually didn't.
Yeah, we were informed that we didn't. So to those watching on YouTube, and since we ripped the audio from YouTube, because we had some technical difficulties, we ripped the audio from YouTube for all the other, locations where you may be listening to the podcast. Apparently, you all could hear Lee still talking, and you probably thought we were giant assholes for just ignoring and talking over everything he was saying.
We genuinely could not hear Lee, and so we thought that it was just gone. But
we thought his audio was gone. It wasn't, just was gone to us. So we were just disregarding everything he said.
Yeah. And we weren't trying to be that big of a dick to Lee because we really do love Lee Stamper.
Yeah. We do appreciate him coming on last week. That was good.
Yeah.
Good time having him on. Good discussion. Go back and listen to episode 18 and the bonus episode from last week for anyone wanting to check that out. And just know that when you get to the end that we weren't snubbing him.
We weren't trying to create a Lee Stamper or an onlylee.com snub list.
Yeah.
We just ran into life. We ran into life and technical issues.
Shit goes wrong.
Yeah, but it's been a lot of fun to bring these guests in, and we got another couple of guests lined up as well.
Yes.
And so we're gonna keep doing that, and hopefully you guys enjoy it as much as we do, because we love doing this, just the two of us, but it's also really, really cool to get some of these different perspectives in.
Yeah. It's very interesting to get some outside perspective, and people always mention things that Mike and I wouldn't necessarily think of, or just getting a third opinion in there, because me and Mike have pretty similar taste.
Mm-hmm.
So it tends to be a bit of an echo chamber, which is not bad because we both have a really, really impeccable taste.
It's solid.
Yeah, but we got to get some people with bad taste occasionally.
Listen, if there's nobody with shitty taste that we bring on every once in a while, nobody would appreciate the amazing taste that we
exactly have. It's all about contrast. So thank you to our guests.
Absolutely. We appreciate just the sheer shittiness. Actually, fuck that. Listen, Lee Stamper was wonderful. Justin was wonderful,
great too. Yeah.
And all of our future guests are hopefully going to be as amazing as those two were.
Yeah.
It is Friday though.
Yeah.
So
I know you're excited about one thing in particular. Because you posted it on Facebook a few times.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, did you forget? Okay.
Yes, I was gonna completely space out on that because I was gonna talk about New Music Friday and let's talk about Celeste.
That was new last week?
It was new last week.
Okay.
And I saw it, but I didn't listen to it until after Friday.
Yeah.
But when I did finally dig into it, man alive.
Dude, I checked it out too.
What do you think?
I really dug it, but I only got like 4 or 5 tracks in. Let me see if I can pull it up. There was one I really liked in those first 4 or 5 tracks, and I regret not getting further into it. The album is Not Your Muse by Celeste, just released last year. Tonight. I really liked that one a lot. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Top of your head? Yeah.
Yeah. I've probably listened to that album 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
In the past.
Holy
week.
shit.
Yeah.
It's a long one too. Isn't it like an hour or more?
No, it's like 48 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that.
Okay.
But I've been putting it on in the background, right? So if I'm making dinner, I'll throw it on.
Yeah.
If I'm in the office and I'm not on my phone, I'll throw it on. It's that type of music to me where it's really beautiful, wonderful background music. And I mean, it's not just background music.
She's a solid singer. She has like a rasp to her voice, you know?
Yeah. And it's funny because I was talking with my sister, and my sister, her and I were going back and forth a little bit, and I played it for her because I don't think she had listened to it. And as soon as she heard it, she goes, "Oh yeah, it sounds just like Adele."
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because I read a review of the album because again, I became really obsessed with it. And most of the reviews were really positive about it, but I found this one review from The Observer, which is a British rag, and
were they talking shit?
Man alive. I don't know what the fuck that author of that review, I don't know what her axe to grind was, but it was a really scathing review. And at one point in time, the reviewer said something to the effect of, if we needed more Adele, we would just listen to more Adele. Geez. And then she said that there's another song, Light the Flame, I think.
Yeah, that was towards the beginning.
Yeah, and basically,
I think she just listened to the first few tracks.
Probably because she basically was like, yeah, Light the Flame. Why don't you just rip off Rolling in the Deep a little bit more?
Stop this flame. Yeah.
Stop this flame.
You know, I mean, like her voice, the timbre of it was a little bit similar to Adele, but I don't feel like the music was necessarily that similar. I mean, her music was, I don't know, how would you describe Adele? Like, it's pop, but there's elements of soul to it.
Yeah.
I would say this was more soul R&B.
With elements of pop
elements of pop. So a little bit of the opposite. Yeah.
Well, and I guess where my head instantly went was when Adele first came out with 19, did everybody shit on her because, if we wanted another Amy Winehouse, we would just fucking listen to Amy Winehouse?
And let's be real. Amy Winehouse is a lot fucking better than Adele. I hate to say it. I'm going there.
I feel like this is like a poll.
Yeah.
I feel like,
oh shit. Should we do another one of those?
I feel like Adele 21 v Amy Winehouse Back in Black.
Well, we already know how that's going to turn out, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it anyways. Okay, let me write that down because we're going to put that up this week.
Will some collection of people that are not JB's friends please reply to this poll?
Okay.
This is a good one. This is solid, right?
That's actually a really good one. So
Back in Black versus 21? That's a fucking money head-to-head.
I'm going to make a note, and we're going to do a Facebook poll this week. We will revisit this next week. So we're doing Adele. It's 21.
Let's do album. 21. Yeah.
Is that her big one? Is that the one with Rolling in the Deep?
Yeah, it's got Rolling in the Deep, and it's got somebody like you.
Yeah. Which Winehouse record are we going with?
Back in Black. It has to be, right?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody gonna send me to rehab? No.
Yeah, we're gonna do those two. Back in Black, and we're gonna see how that turns out.
Let's do it.
What are you voting for? Can you tell us?
I am not. No. I have not spent enough time with Amy Winehouse to be able to give this thing a fair shake.
She's gonna knock you out.
I know. Well, I mean, I'm familiar enough, but I've never sat down with Back to Black and just listened to the whole thing start to finish.
I haven't done that with Adele either, though. Have you?
Oh, yes. Yeah, multiple times.
I think she's good. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but Amy Winehouse is. I mean, she's in the 27 Club, for God's sakes. You know what that is?
Yes. Yes, of course. I fucking know what that is.
Some people don't.
You don't get an award just for dying fucking young.
If it's 27, then you do. That's the rule.
That's the rule. So definitely check out Not Your Muse by Celeste.
Yes. Any other new music?
I'm still really obsessed with it. So today we got I think there was at least 27 new trap rap albums that dropped
At least,
today.
yeah.
At least 27
Could
new
be an
mixtapes.
underestimate.
Yeah, it could be.
I listened
Could be a light
to all
number.
of them, and I gotta say they all. No, I didn't listen to any of them. Did you listen to any of them?
Was
we coming up with the Fat Daddy 69?
Fetty Wap Fat Daddy Roadie? Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That
No, but Foo Fighters came out today.
yeah. Did you listen to that?
I didn't.
Did you listen to the whole thing? Because I just listened to about the first half of it.
Yeah. I made it through.
I did like that single that came out.
Shame.
Good song, I think. What do you think?
This is what I can say, and this is not a pejorative. This is very much a compliment. It's a Foo Fighters album.
Yeah. It's dark, a little bit darker. I feel like maybe
You
not.
think so?
Maybe not. That song in particular for sure is kind of dark on the dark side. It's bluesy dark, but it's definitely not like
The hook is super catchy on that, though, right?
like the chorus, like the
Yeah. The bass line.
Yeah, it's cool because like there's not really a chord progression in the verses. It's really just a riff. It's like
Yeah.
dun 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 the whole time, and then there's the chord progression comes in, and like usually there's like an implied chord progression, and you can figure it out. I do this all the time because I teach students songs. Because I'm a music teacher for those that aren't aware, and I teach students songs where like it's on the piano and they're not necessarily playing chords, but you can hear that there's a chord progression being implied. But on that one, it's not so much. I mean, you could argue maybe, but it'd be a loose interpretation, you know?
Yeah, at best.
So
No, I dug it.
I liked the first half of it.
I genuinely like the Foo Fighters.
Do you?
Yeah.
Because in the past, I think they're fine, but there's just something that's just a little, I don't know. They just seem a little cookie cutter to me.
They are.
Yeah, they definitely are.
They are. Have you
But-
seen them live?
No,
That'll change your life.
really,
I mean, listen, it's not going to change your life. It's
going to change my life.
that's a bit of an overstatement. Okay, it is. It's not going to change your life, but it is. It's a fuck ton of fun.
Okay, cool.
A fuck ton of fun.
Well, I know that Grohl is definitely super animated, and he's a great front man.
Yeah.
But I got to say, I did like the first half of this record. I think more than most of the other Foo Fighters stuff I've heard.
It's hard for me because I love the early Foo Fighters.
Really,
Yeah.
what's considered early? I mean, like is that like that song? The earliest song I remember is like "The Best of You." Is that early Foo Fighters?
No.
Okay.
No, for me, early Foo Fighters goes back to the self-titled debut, which coincidentally, Dave Grohl did Trent Reznor style. So Dave Grohl plays everything on the self-titled debut of Foo Fighters, and it was after he recorded all that shit that he got a backup band,
Yeah.
which I always kind of like that. But there is the song on that disc. God damn it. What's the name of it?
Trent Reznor style. You could also say Brian Wilson style.
They did. Yes, I could do that. That's terrible. They did a music video for it, and the music video was making fun of the Mentos commercials. Yeah, you familiar?
Yeah.
You like how I'm using Dark Tower terminology whenever we talk? You can.
Yeah, I do like that. This was a Foo Fighters song.
Yeah, what the hell is the name of that? Oh, Big Me. Big Me's the name.
I don't
of
even
the
know that song.
Man, it's a really, really great song. It's just kind of jingle jangly and happy and fun. And back in the day, there were these. I mean, you know what Mentos are, right? The shitty little candy. Mentos.
Yeah,
candies.
the things you put with Coke.
Yes. Well, yeah, they're the things that you can dump into Coke. That's true.
And
But
then
yes.
Yeah.
But they had these really terrible commercials back in the day where
I do remember that.
they
Yeah.
were clearly made in like Europe, is what it seemed like most of the time. And they always ended with Mentos de Fresh Maker.
Yep, I know exactly what you're
Yeah,
talking
you know
about.
what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? And they were always like these cheesy, shitty videos where like this cute little surfer boy would be like, "You want a Mentos?" And he would like hold
And
out
so
the
Foo
Mentos
Fighters
pack.
parodied this.
Yes,
Interesting.
for their video of Big Me.
Was it funny?
Fuck yes, it's funny.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's not like Buddy Holly Weezer good.
Yeah.
Because that video is just that Spike Jones just going ham as you can get on it. And I wouldn't say that it's quite that good, but it's really, really good. Super duper solid.
Cool. Well, maybe I should dig into because like what I've heard of Foo Fighters is mainly like their popular stuff, and it's just always been a little bland to me.
Yeah.
So I never really dug further.
It's really simple.
Yeah.
Right. It's really simple. I mean, you get some complexity when you get into songs like Everlong and some of the other tracks on that second disc that they made.
And I'm not saying it's not good music. It just doesn't really mean much to me personally, because I'm not against simplistic stuff. Like I fucking love Nirvana, which is, obviously the band that Dave Grohl was in before the Foo Fighters. I really love, but there's a certain, when you get to a certain level of songwriting, I'll appreciate it, whatever it is,
Yeah.
For me, Foo Fighters hasn't gotten there, but I do like the new record, at least what I heard of it. So
yeah. Yep. And I'm right there with you. If you're into the Foo Fighters, I think you're going to love it.
You're going to be super stoked. And if you're not, maybe it'd be a good entry point,
It could be, because this album, it's, I like it. Listen, I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's easy on the ears, really, really listenable. And
any other new music that you listen to?
I didn't listen to anything else.
Yeah.
Not that was new or fresh that came out this week. For you, anything?
Nothing, because I looked it up and like there was kind of quite a bit that came out today, but not a lot of it I really knew what it was, and none of it was appealing enough to me that I went and checked it out. And I just went listened to the first half of the Foo Fighters record.
Although, did you see? Oh, okay. Yeah, this is. So The Weeknd has released a greatest hits album.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. But I assumed I probably knew most of the tracks on it.
Yeah. And you definitely do.
Is it just like, does it have the Blinding Light one on it?
Yeah, it's got Blinding Lights, Can't Feel My Face, Starboy's on there, Pray for Me. Yeah. It's all The Hills. Yeah, it's all the stuff you want to hear.
It's gonna be good, but it seems a little early for The Weeknd to release the greatest hits record.
Thank you. A little premature, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would say so.
Just a skosh.
Yeah.
Skosh premature.
If you wait like 20 years and then you can do a greatest hits record.
You could do like a greatest hits double album at that point in time. All right. What do you say? You want to do this?
Should we break into it?
I think so.
And just because we didn't mention it yet, for those who are just starting here, what we're doing here is we're going through a questionable decision, but what we're doing here is we're going through Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest albums of all time, taking it in groups of 5 albums at a time, and kind of going through and offering our opinions on the ordering and the albums in general. And hopefully our production manager is okay in the other room. I don't know if you guys heard that.
I know.
He says it's all good. He's currently on the ground. Nope, there he is. Okay, he's surfaced.
He's
okay.
Up. Okay.
So anyways, we are
solid.
getting back into the list. We've made it 70 albums in, and we are on number 430 as of today, and we're going 430 through 426. So
Absolutely.
Let's pick it up here at 430. I can't remember if I'm my 135 or my 2 and 4. That's our lingo here. It's very complex.
Just go.
I'll take it. Okay.
You go.
So Elvis Costello, My Aim is True, number 430 from 1977. Elvis Costello on the fuel for his debut. I spent a lot of time with just a big jar of instant coffee and the first Clash album. Ooh, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
It says
holes.
I'm going to say it. So just prepare yourself. The first Clash album, in parentheses, C number 102.
Wow.
So that's high. Listening to it over and over. The music is more pub rock than punk rock, but the songs are full of punk's verbal bite. The album's opening lines, now that your picture's in the paper being rhythmically admired, and the Poisoned Valentine ballad, Allison, established Costello as one of the sharpest and nastiest lyricists of his generation. What'd you think, Mike, of Elvis Costello's debut record here?
Oh, well, there's a part of me that wants to say it's kind of like instant coffee.
Ooh, that's harsh.
No,
Just like instant coffee.
I mean, not from a taste standpoint, but because it happens really fast.
It is very fast. Yeah, the album is short. It's maybe 35 minutes long, something like that.
This album, this is a good album. I don't have an issue with the album. I
Yeah.
don't have an issue with the album being on the list. I just don't think that I'm an Elvis Costello guy.
Yeah. Is it his voice or is it his songwriting?
It's I mean, it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
His songwriting is fine. You know, it's a kind of a new wave pop punk type of sound to it, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. I mean, that's kind of how I described a lot of this stuff.
There's definitely a little bit of that in there. Although I'm not really sure I get a lot of the punk stuff. To me, it just kind of sounds like 70s rock kind of stuff. Like a lot of it sounds kind of David Bowie-ish to me in terms of the songwriting, and some of the instrumentation sounds like some of the early David Bowie records. The voice,
Really?
yeah, a little bit. The voice, not at all, you know?
Yeah.
In fact, like there were some like even on the opening track, Welcome to the Working Week, there were some like Beach Boys-esque background vocals,
Mhm.
like the ooh kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote David Bowie plus Beach Boys is what it kind of sounded like to me. But you know what? I think that it was like unabashedly simple in instrumentation, and I really appreciated that. Like it was just you know, a guitar or two, a bass guitar, and drums, and his vocals. And like for me, if you're gonna, that's almost a ballsy thing to do. And not that he's doing it today, but to just release, you know, just that be that simple and just have the whole album riding on your songwriting, you know. And
Yeah.
I can appreciate and respect that. And in my opinion, it worked out. I like a lot of the songs on this record. I like his voice.
Tell me this. Were there any songs that you listened to and you were just like, meh, fuck that song? Did any songs not land for you?
Let me look through. Probably maybe I'm Not Angry. Kind of reminded me of Sultans of Swing, and I don't like Sultans of Swing. In fact, hey, I should mention real quick, Linda, who is an avid listener,
Yeah.
and one of my guitar students, actually.
Did she ask
She came
you
in
to
the other day
learn
and she's like, I want to learn Sultans of Swing.
That's excessively funny to me, only because I think it was last week or maybe the week before we started the podcast, I was telling JB that I had recently picked up the LP of Brothers in Arms by Dire Straits.
Yeah.
And it was almost instantaneous that JB goes in, like he just kind of gave me a flat look, and I was like, fuck, do you not like that album? And he was just like, just kind of shaking his head and just going, let me guess, you really like Sultans of Swing. And I was just like, well, I mean, it's an okay song.
And to be fair, she was joking. She was messing with me.
Oh, thank God. Okay, thank God. So it's funny that you talk about I'm Not Angry, because to me, I heard Billy Joel.
Billy Joel?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I heard. And I don't, it was just on that song that I made the note about Billy Joel, you know, because there's plenty of this album that Buddy Holly just comes screaming through on this album.
Yeah, there was a lot of like 50s rock feel, especially on like No Dancing. To me, sounded like very 50s rocky.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 70s rock structure, but with some 50s rock kind of influence in it. You know, like there's even some like Chuck Berry kind of like guitar style influence to it.
Yeah.
On a couple tunes.
Yep.
The punkiest tune for me was Waiting for the End of the World. I feel like that was kind of a punk song, but I'm not sure I really get, because a lot of people refer to it as punky. I guess they refer to it as pub rock, but they're closely associating that with punk rock.
See, now Waiting for the End of the World, I was back in on that. And that's what I think that's what's most confounding to me with this album is there were some songs that came on and they just didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Like, and it was, and I
Which one were that?
So The Angels Want to Wear My Red Shoes.
Really? Because I put 2 stars on that one.
Fuck off. Really?
Yeah. Good.
Seriously. What did you say? Like, what was your comment?
I said that there was a cool, like the guitar had like a cool phaser tone to it that I liked a lot. It almost had, but then at the end, and this is the last thing I wrote that it kind of has Bob Seger vibes. And I don't really like Bob Seger.
Yeah.
So it kind of started turning me off. But I thought it was a good chorus. Angels want to wear my red shoes. And like the good harmonies. Yeah, I just thought it was a well-written song.
Yeah. To me, it was too simple for me. And that's a weird thing to say because every fucking one of these songs is really, really simple. Like there's nothing complex that's happening musically with any of these.
What did you think of Watching the Detectives?
Oh, I loved that actually.
Because that was like a reggae, like almost like a dub.
I know.
Dub style reggae tune. It had some synth in there, or maybe it's like electric piano.
See, and that I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but this was one that and again, his voice, it's not the worst thing in the world to me. It's clearly not my favorite vocal ever. But on that one, specifically on that one, and actually that's the only one that I gave that, like I put 3 stars next to that. That was probably my favorite one on the whole disc. And it's because with the way that they did the instrumentation on that song, I loved the way that his voice fit in with the instrumentation on that particular track. That
one I gave a couple stars too. That was probably my favorite as well. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. But
yeah, it was perfect. I really loved that one. Pay It Back. That was pretty fun. Pay It Back. And again, a lot of these that I did put stars next to, I do circle back around to his voice. And so I think
you don't like his voice.
Maybe that is the biggest turnoff for me is I just don't really like his voice. But at the same time, there are settings where it works.
Yeah.
And I really do enjoy it in some settings. But we're talking about albums here. And if I'm looking at this thing on balance, the whole thing top to bottom,
you're not sold.
It's not that I'm not sold. I just know that it's not for me.
That's okay. Yeah. I did add it to my digital library.
I did not.
And I would definitely get the vinyl.
You would pick up the vinyl.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I wouldn't.
That's fair. That's fine. Yeah.
I mean, actually, I shouldn't say that I wouldn't. No, fuck that. I wouldn't.
You wouldn't. Yeah, that's fine, dude. You wouldn't get it.
Because I wouldn't ever spin it. I mean, it would be, if I just wanted to have a record collection with music that other people might enjoy.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be for me to enjoy.
If you're going to check this one out, I would listen to Watching the Detectives. And I would also recommend Miracle Man. I didn't mention that yet, but that has a really nice hook. That was like the second song on the album. Yeah. Miracle Man.
Yeah.
Cool guitar sound and just a really good chorus on that one too. Miracle Man.
I ripped off
Make Me a Miracle Man.
I ripped off Rex Todd's terminology and I did say that one's a good foot tapper.
Yeah, good foot tapper. Yeah,
that's shit that he's
speaking of that, do you have Rex's email pulled up?
I was just getting ready to go through it because he's hit on stuff that we have hit on. So first of all, how much Elvis Costello experience did you have before this album?
Singles mostly, no pure albums. So
I was basically nil. I mean, I knew who Elvis Costello was, but it was relatively nil. Rex had never listened to Elvis Costello, and he says that was a life mistake I can never live down. He loved it.
So he's a big fan.
Yeah, he says this is 1 part Buddy Holly, 1 part blues riffs, and every bit of fun to listen. Really like the album. An unfortunate reminder that good old-fashioned rock and roll is almost extinct. And that's the one thing that I will say that rings true with me too.
Yeah.
Is in so many ways this feels I kind of feel the same way about Tom Petty from the standpoint of like Tom Petty made rock and roll music. No. You're looking at me like I have 4 heads. I love Tom Petty.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah. I love Tom Petty.
Like, wait.
I wish this was a Tom Petty record because I would have loved it I would have loved it a lot more. But I just mean from the standpoint of Elvis Costello made a rock and roll album.
Yeah. And that kind of goes back to, that's kind of what I was trying to get at when I was talking about just, guitars, drums, bass, and songwriting.
Yeah.
And like that there's something ballsy about that. I mean, especially in today, maybe not so much in 1977. That was pretty, par for the course, I guess, in terms of rock music. But yeah, he's just relying on his songwriting, and it's just rock and roll. There's no frills. There's no real production going on. It's just recording, and that's all it is.
Thankfully, and this is something that I will say with absolute love and praise, there was no fucking wall of sound. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God, there was no wall of sound. But I'm with you.
Speaking of wall and sound.
Oh.
No, sorry. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say the same thing that you said, and that's that if you're only going to listen to one, do Watching the Detectives. That's the one.
How do you feel about the list? Does this belong on Rolling Stone's list of the greatest 500 albums of all time?
I'm going to recuse myself.
I'm saying yes.
I think that it probably should, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
And that's where I come up with the bullshit.
But that's okay that's okay to say that, though. There might be stuff that, like, on this, there's plenty of stuff that I think, should be recognized on the list of the greatest albums, but I'm not going to be into it. So is that what you're trying to say?
That's exactly where I'm at.
And I think it could even move down a little bit, but I think it belongs on the list.
Yeah, because I think that Elvis Costello should absolutely be on the list. Now, let me ask you this: do you think that this is the only time that we see Elvis Costello?
That's what I was about to ask, because I'm not, like I said, I don't know a lot of his other, what albums were his big hit albums. I wouldn't be surprised just because he's such a big name.
Yeah,
if we see one more,
I feel the same.
But I feel like at the most one more.
That
do you think? You think more?
I mean, maybe, yeah. I could see there being two more from Elvis Costello just because of the name. The name is so big.
Yeah,
so big. But we'll see. And potentially as he grows as an artist, maybe it becomes more musically nuanced in a way that I can appreciate more than what I do on this album.
Yeah, because this is a debut album.
Yeah, yeah. And from that standpoint, I mean, it's pretty clear to tell. It's pretty clear to me what he was going for, and he fucking nailed it.
Yeah,
like he did it.
He
did exactly what he was trying to do. It's just not my thing. It's not what I typically gravitate to.
Yeah, I hear you.
So
that's okay.
Yeah, and I'm at peace with that.
So we're both pretty cool with it being on the list. I added digital and would do vinyl. Mike's not on that page, but it's worth checking out. Yeah, and especially those couple tracks we mentioned.
Yeah, and if you get 2 or 3 songs in and you find yourself just wondering why you're listening to this,
then don't stick it out because it's mostly the same.
It's the same.
Yeah.
It's not gonna change. It's not gonna change. So yeah, so if you get 3 songs in and you're like, yeah, I don't think this is for me, it's probably not for you, and you should just turn.
Although if you do get 3 songs in and you think that, do check out Watching the Detectives, because that is totally different, actually. like the most of the album is the same, but then that last song is like a reggae song, and it's quite a bit different. I mean, in my opinion.
What I would recommend is start with Watching the Detectives.
Start with that and work backwards,
because you'll probably be like, oh fuck, I can get into this, and then go back to the beginning of the album, and after 2 or 3 songs, if you're like, what the hell? This doesn't sound anything like the first song.
and then just turn it off.
Yeah, just turn it off. Add the one song and then move on.
Okay.
Although fuck that. Don't ever do that. I'm not a fan of just adding
of single songs. I've done it once or twice. Yeah, I gotta say.
I've done it once or twice too, but I feel shamed.
Yeah.
For having done that.
Should we move on?
Let's do it, because I'm kind of thrilled to talk about number 429.
Okay.
So 429 from 1967. The artist, the Four Tops, the album Reach Out. Rolling Stone says the Four Tops were the most dramatic of the Motown singing groups, driven by the towering vocals of Levi Stubbs. Reach Out has overwrought classics like the title track, the goth soul tsunami, 7 Rooms of Gloom, and Bernadette, on which lust and paranoia spontaneously combust. I'm telling you. They also branch out into rock and roll with covers of the Monkees and Tim Hardin. It was the last Motown album for the label's definitive songwriting team of Holland, Dozier, and Holland. fascinating. I didn't even uncover that when I was digging.
Me
through this
neither.
album.
Who are those guys?
They did everything.
They did all the Motown.
They did all of the songwriting. Like when we did the Diana Ross and the Supremes anthology, basically the entire first disc of that anthology was Holland, Dozier, Holland, Regina Spektor. I want to say when we did that, like a lot of that Phil Spector horseshit, multiple box set was a lot of that was Holland, Dozier, Holland. So yeah, prolific songwriters for Motown. What'd you think?
Well, before we were talking about the Wall of Sound.
Yeah.
I was going to say, thank God there's no Wall of Sound here either, because that would have probably ruined it. Yeah.
It would have ruined it. But instead, you just get an amazing wall of voice.
A wall of voice. And so I'll say, Levi Stubbs, lead vocalist. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Killer. Kills every song. But the background vocals were like the highlight of the whole record for me. Like just incredible harmonies and just epic. Like just the way that they fill that space and just the, whoever was doing the arranging here, it's probably Holland, Dozier, Holland.
Yeah.
But those guys just kill it. They're good writers, obviously.
What did you think about the covers on here?
So which one were the covers?
Well, Last Train to Clarksville.
Obviously, I'm a believer.
Yeah, I'm a believer.
Who did the Last Train originally?
Fucking Monkeys.
Okay. I liked that one a lot. I really liked. Yeah, that was one of my 2 stars.
I couldn't help but fucking think about the goddamn Monkeys.
Yeah, dude,
it was hard.
That's probably why I wrote this song sounds familiar for some reason. Because I didn't look into it being a cover. I like the beginning how they did like a train whistle but with vocal harmonies.
Yeah, with vocal harmonies.
Does that happen on the Monkeys version too?
Fuck no.
No.
So
this one's better.
The Monkeys are, I think, largely untalented
for the most part. Terrible. Yeah.
Mickey Hart's rolling over in his fucking, I think, in his grave, or he might just be rolling over.
Wait, no, who are you talking about? I think you said the name wrong.
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. Sorry, not Mickey Hart from the Great.
I was like, wait, what? You looked that up. Okay,
I am.
I'm a Believer was another cover. Yes. What else was a cover on here?
Mickey Dolenz.
Mickey Dolenz. Okay. I love I'm a Believer. I think that's a great song.
It is.
I love almost every cover, including Smash Mouths. It's not that bad. But that being said, it was a pretty normie version of it. Like there was nothing that they did to spice it up really. It was just pretty much them singing the song as it is.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was well executed.
My favorite tracks on this album are the ones that everybody knows. Bernadette is my favorite song on this record, and Bernadette is one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Period. It's wonderful. I love I'll Be There. Like,
yeah,
Reach Out, I'll Be There is wonderful. Walk Away, Renee. Man, it's just instantly recognizable whenever it comes on. And I love that. I love it too.
A lot of this just has like this epic feel to it. Like everything's on such a grand scale. Like big orchestral lines, huge, big vocals, and it just like it just feels epic. I don't know how else to put that. Like everything just feels
big,
grand.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like grand in scale.
Well, and in 1967 too, I don't know that it's the peak of Motown, but it's got to be real close.
I think it is too. And I wrote, this is a great snippet of peak Motown.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I wrote. So
yeah, because if you think about Motown as a wave coming in, I mean, this is it. I mean, I really think that this, in combination with what Diana Ross and the Supremes were doing at the same time, I mean, this was big.
Yeah.
Right. Really, really big.
Yep. Agreed. And the bass player. What'd you think about
Smashes.
that? Yeah.
Okay, so Turn to Stone. I love the bass work on Turn to Stone. I love the bass line in 7 Rooms of Gloom.
Yes.
Really, really love the bass line on that. But I mean, listen, everywhere. The instrumentation everywhere on this record is
so good. Shout out to the Funk Brothers. Did you know
yes,
that?
yeah. So I was gonna say I didn't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But I remember I was digging into it when I was listening to it. But yeah, the Funk Brothers were
That's the group of studio musicians, similar to, like oh god, now I'm forgetting all of them, who are like the
Wrecking Crew.
The Wrecking Crew,
Yeah.
the Swampers,
Yep.
down in Birmingham.
Yep.
There were these groups of guys that the Wrecking Crew was in New York, right? I want to say.
I don't know.
I think
If
they
I told
were.
you, I'd just be making it up.
The Swampers
I'll
were in
look it up.
Birmingham, but there was a Muscle Shoals group. This is the cool thing. Like this is not really a thing these days, because now a lot of it's production, a lot of it's done in the studio, a lot of it's done on a computer. But
Yep.
back in the day when these big artists would go into the studio, a lot of these big studios and producers had a group of guys that they worked with. That was like their set of studio musicians, and they really had this certain level of magic together because they had played on, hundreds, some thousands of recordings together. And they were like a band in and of themselves, even though they were playing different people's music. Was the Wrecking Crew from New York?
LA, actually.
LA. I got to find out who was the Muscle Shoals Soul studio band. I'm looking it up right now because those guys were just fucking killer.
So many great studio musicians, though.
So I think it's just referred to as the Muscle Shoals rhythm section, but just a group of studio musicians. These are just guys that's their job. They go into the studio and they record different people's music every day.
That's right.
And they're phenomenal.
They smash.
Yeah.
That's what they like. They professionally sit around and smash music. And the Wrecking Crew in particular was kind of fascinating because I think them, and I think this is true for all of these session musicians, they were given music, and this from the Wrecking Crew documentary, they would sometimes get music and say, you know what, fuck this. Like, we know that this is what it says, but let's do it this way.
Yeah.
Because it'll sound a lot better. And they were right.
And they're also fucking famous for doing shit like in a relatively small number of takes.
Yeah.
Sometimes the first take. I don't know about the Wrecking Crew in particular, but some of these studio bands like lay shit down and they're like, they're getting paid by the day, not by the hour. So they're like, we're gonna get out of here and fucking by 11 a.m.
They're running Mike Cisco hours.
Yeah.
Every day.
Exactly.
They're like, this is the fuck out of here by noon.
Yep.
Done.
But yeah. So with this one, I would absolutely do the vinyl, and I'll look for it every time I go to the store.
I will.
I did not end up adding it to digital just because I don't think I want to listen to it that much on digital, because I think I would rather listen to it on vinyl.
And that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at as well. I did not add this to digital, but I'll tell you, there's a part of me that I could listen to Bernadette.
You could listen.
I could listen.
Are you going to break your rule?
No. If I added this, I would add the whole record because once I go down this path, what you're talking about, a half hour, right? That's a car ride across town, that you could pretty much listen to this entire album in doing it. And
it's a shorty.
Yeah, it's a shorty. So I would add the whole thing because I do think that there is the possibility where I could listen to this driving around in my car, driving around in my truck. I could do it, but I'm with you. This is a much better catch on vinyl.
Yeah.
A much better catch on vinyl. So I'm going to hunt for it.
Yep. But we're on the same page in terms of the list. It could maybe even move up. I think it's in a decent position.
I'm okay with where it's at positionally.
Yeah.
And
it's a snapshot of musical history. And it had some influence, but like, how many people know the Four Tops? Like, if you asked a random person, they probably wouldn't know who they were.
That's the other thing, though, in listening to this that I was super impressed with, and that's the fact that the Four Tops, that they recorded together for 50 plus years.
50 years?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
They were still performing. They performed for 50 years. Like, that's crazy. And they didn't swap out any members. Like,
same guys.
Yeah, it wasn't like Levi got pissed and left, and so they brought in some other dude that just sounds a whole lot like him.
Yeah. Man,
they stayed together and they performed together for a really, really long time. And I got a lot of respect for that.
No, absolutely. Did you say they're still performing today?
No, because now, like, a number of them have passed. I don't
Yeah.
think they've all passed, but
Yeah.
they've lost members.
They're the two tops now. Oh my God. That was terrible. I had to go there. Sorry, guys.
But even relative to where it is positionally with Diana Ross, right? Because it wasn't that long ago that we had the Supremes anthology. So I like where this is at, and I'm with you. I think I wouldn't be pissed if it got moved up a little bit, but at the same time, I like it.
Yep.
I like it a lot. So
Agreed.
let's move.
Should we move on
Let's do it.
to number 428?
Mm-hmm.
Husker Du. I'm just doing that based on the accent.
You practiced that.
I didn't, but did it come across that way?
It sounded wonderful.
Good. Thank you. Husker Du coming in at 428 with New Day Rising from 1985. These three Minneapolis dudes played savagely emotional hardcore punk that became a key influence on Nirvana, among others. In parentheses, Husker Du guitarist Bob Mould was an early candidate to produce Nevermind before the job went to Butch Vig. What the hell of a fucking name there. I'm Butch Vig. I said Butch, but I mean, Butch. Okay. Mold and the band created a roar like garbage trucks trying to sing Beach Boys songs. Yeah.
Yep.
Especially on the anthems Celebrated Summer and Perfect Example, and on the wondrous Books About UFOs. Drummer Grant Hart gets on the piano and plunks out a jaunty love song to an amateur astronomer. Mike and I talked a little bit about this one before the episode here, and I gotta say we're not on the same page.
No, we're not. I'm really glad that that Butch Vig got the job to produce Nevermind.
Oh, are you? Instead of Bob Mould?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually really, really happy that happened.
Yeah. Because you're thinking that maybe he would have not got Nevermind in the top 10.
So Butch Vig is also the drummer for Garbage.
Yeah.
Right. So if you think about the sound that Garbage has versus the sound that Husker Du has, and then
What are you
how
trying to say?
and then how Nevermind turned out. Yeah, I'm super thrilled because I would much rather have a Nirvana that sounds more like Garbage than a Nirvana that sounds more like Husker Du.
So you didn't like Husker Du?
No,
No.
I didn't.
Yeah.
So, and again, this is hearkening back to a conversation that we had earlier. If anybody can not use Google and tell me who Thomas Edison's father was, I'd be super impressed with that. If you could tell me the name of Thomas Edison's father.
It's Robert Edison.
Clearly.
I just made that
Fucking
up.
liar.
Yeah.
My point being is that just because music influenced other music that became really, really either popular or transcendent on some level, that doesn't necessarily mean that the influencer, I believe, carries the same weight as the influencee. And that's where I'm at with this.
It's a hot take.
I do love, I love Nirvana.
Yeah.
But this isn't Nirvana.
It's not Nirvana. And the thing for me is, I think that they underestimated in that description the influence that this band has, because I hear a lot of stuff in this that is just wide in terms of genre. Like I hear anywhere from Nirvana to Green Day to Dropkick Murphys. I hear in this. And like I'm wondering, I think this is like a hugely influential band and is worth noting, even if only for that. But I don't think it's only for that, because I think I actually enjoy this music, I gotta say.
What did you like about it?
It's just the vibe. It's just the energy, because like, there's not a lot of technicality going on there. Although there is some. I mean, it's not bad. And when you compare it to like
Black Flag,
like, yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Probably a little more technicality than Black Flag. It's certainly more melodic than Black Flag, but they carry a lot of the same, the hardcore punk, stylized tidbits as Black Flag does, but with a little more melody. And
there's a lot more melody.
There's a lot more melody, but I loved Black Flag. Fucking loved it.
I know you did.
Yeah.
And that's, this is going to be, it's funny because we talked at the start of the show about the impeccable taste that both of us have.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Let's make no let's have no,
no
confusion there.
Make no bones about it.
Yeah.
We do have impeccable taste. But this is definitely an area, just the whole, and it's not that I dislike punk. I like my punk more no effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I like my punk more.
Mike's the man.
I like my punk more
I'm just kidding.
carefree and jolly and just a skosh more technically proficient.
Yeah, I hear you. And NoFX is that for sure.
That's exactly it.
And I'm sure we're going to come across NoFX.
Never on this list.
You don't think so?
Fuck no. Are you fucking kidding me?
I bet there is.
There's no way.
I bet there is.
What fucking NoFX album is going to find its way onto this list?
Whatever has, isn't NoFX do Never Tear Us Apart? Or is that not NoFX? Never Tear Us Apart. Isn't that NoFX? I'm looking it up.
Okay, you look it up because I don't think so.
Oh, sorry, that's NXS. So that's not the same thing. Turns out, yeah. That's NXS. So I bet NXS is on the list. It's a similar, 4-letter name. Give me a fucking pass on that one, okay?
She'll never tear us apart.
But but for a second, you were wondering if it was NoFX. You were like, is it?
I think that was mostly because I didn't pick up on the cue that you were giving me. As
I was joking for those who weren't, who couldn't pick up on that. I was fucking around. Obviously, it's not NoFX.
Okay. I don't know that we're gonna find any NXS. INXS. I mean, maybe we get some NXS.
I bet you that album with Never Tear Us Apart's on there.
Possibly, but definitely no NoFX.
Probably NoFX.
I mean, I can't imagine White Trash, Two Heebs, and a Bean being on this record. As in Airlines, probably not going to be on this record. Heavy Petting Zoo, one of my favorites, probably not going to be on this list.
And just for those wondering, NXS is not NoFX. That's a different band. Okay. But let's talk songs.
Let's get back to this.
Let's talk songs with New Day Rising here. Were there any that you did like?
It's funny because when you first mentioned to me that you heard a lot of Green Day in here, I was thinking to myself, man, I don't know what you're talking about. I apologize.
Yep.
Literally, my note that I made has a Green Day feel to it.
Yep. And that's what I'm talking about. I think they influenced a whole fucking range of pop punk musicians. I hear, Green Day. I even hear a little bit of like Blink 182 in this shit. To be fair, I Apologize is probably the most like pop punky song.
Yeah.
But like vocally, they kind of sound like Dropkick Murphys a lot. Do you ever listen to those guys?
I'm not super familiar with.
And I'm not super
Murphys.
even into them. But I like that I can hear a little bit of that.
I loved Celebrated Summer.
Celebrated Summer was really cool. Yeah, there was
really
a
cool song.
cool call-in response there between the fuzz guitar. And I was going to mention to you, I was glad they didn't do a lot of distortion on the bass in this album.
They did not.
Because I know that drives you crazy a little bit.
Yeah, it does drive me nuts. And you just see it so often in like certain genres of music, and punk is definitely one that they do that with. And yeah, you don't get that. But I did listen. I liked. Sorry for saying listen. I did like I Apologize.
You don't have to apologize.
I like Celebrated Summer. 59 Times the Pain.
Okay, so what about, did that song remind you of anything? Mike and I are both giant Fish fans, and the opening of that sounds exactly like a Fish song.
What
I
song?
mean, exactly.
What song?
Big Black Furry Creature from Mars. I mean, it's exactly the same thing. It's like,
Okay.
dun, 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 dun. I'll play it again after we finish this podcast, and I'll be like, listen, do you hear Big Black Furry Creature
Yeah,
from
'cause
Mars?
now
And you're
I
gonna
wanna
say
hear it.
yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna say yes, because it's literally the same thing. Like, I think that Fish was listening to Husker Du, And they were like, we're going to take that intro to that song and make that a whole song. That's what we're going to do.
That's all I got though. Like those are the only songs that really, really stood out to me.
So I just think these guys were like the hardcore punk, like the Black Flag kind of vibe, but far more melodic. Like I thought there were some well-written hooks that were kind of buried in a crazy wall of sound here because everything kind of bleeds together on this record. The vocals are so buried due to the lack of production quality that it just ends up being kind of a cohesive mass of sound that like you can't really pick out the differences a lot of the time.
No, you cannot. You cannot.
So, but yeah, I mean, it was like melodic hardcore punk, and I wrote melodic hardcore punk with a touch of 80s hair metal. Like I thought there was a little bit of that in there, especially in the guitar kind of stuff.
I didn't necessarily. Well, there were a couple times like on Perfect Example, I wrote that the guitar riff sounded like a Pretenders riff.
Dude, yeah. But yeah, I was into this one.
I'm being shittier. I'm being shittier than what this album deserves because it was. I will say this: I didn't know anything about Husker Du, and it surprised me. I'll say that much. It surprised me in some of the songs that it did, especially Celebrated Summer is the one that really stands out. So it's not that there's nothing. It's not that there's nothing here. This is a lot like Elvis Costello though for me, and it's just not really my bag. Like I didn't add it to digital, and I'm not gonna go running around, hunting for the vinyl on this.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not gonna fucking hunt this thing out on vinyl.
So I wrote that I was curious how it would sound on vinyl, just because of like the buried mix and all that. I'm interested to see what it would sound like. I'm not gonna seek it out or anything.
Yeah,
I did add to my digital library, and I'm all on board with this being on the list because of the influence. Like this is a strong influence record, which again, it goes back to the argument. Like there's two reasons for an album to be on here: influence and content, and just like pop culture icon, I guess. But like
influence alone, the influence alone is.
It depends what it influenced, how much it influenced.
I understand your argument. If it stays on my list, which I'm a question at this point. I don't know that it has to stay on the list for me, but if it does, it's falling way the fuck down there for me.
Lower because than it already is.
I don't like the idea that we celebrate music because of the music that it led to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not true.
Well, I mean,
that's not true. That's not entirely true, but for me, this album feels like that is the only reason why it's on the list.
From what I can tell from what you're saying, it sounds like you're saying you recognize that it influenced a lot, but the content itself puts you off in a way that makes you that turns you off to it. Like you don't dig the actual content.
That's right.
And in fact, you dislike the content, some of it, which is okay. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not palatable necessarily. You know what I mean?
It definitely hits my palate in a less than savory way.
Yeah.
That's the best way to say it. So,
well, we're not going to tell you either way. It's up to you on Husker Du. Check it out or don't check it out. If you like hardcore punk that's like aggressive sounding and not cleanly recorded, then check out Husker Du.
And if you're like me and you're like, man, I'm not punk is not your go-to genre, and especially like dirty, muddy punk. If you're only going to listen to one, I would do Celebrated Summer. If you're only going to do one, what about you?
I would do I Apologize just because I think it's the most accessible.
Okay. Yeah. And that's also a song that I like.
Yeah.
It was definitely a song that I made a note on.
Definitely.
And Books About UFOs.
Oh, that's a fun one too.
It's just funny.
Reading books about UFOs.
Yeah. It's just funny and goofy, and I love funny, goofy punk.
Yeah, we gotta love that shit.
That's my favorite type of punk. All right.
Moving on? Yeah.
Let's do it. 427. From 1973, a man that we've heard in the not too distant past.
Mm-hmm.
Al Green. This time, instead of the greatest hits, which we just listened to a few weeks ago, we're going to get the album Call Me. Rolling Stone says Green was absolutely fearless at this point, an innovator willing to try any crazy idea. Country ballads, jazz chords, even a gospel tune. Producer Willie Mitchell and his studio band of virtuoso Memphis R&B pros create the sultriest grooves south of the Mason-Dixon line. Green testifies to the glories of Love and Call Me and Have You Been Making Out Okay? When he reaches up for that falsetto growl at the end of Your Love Is Like the Morning Sun, it's like he's bringing down the sugar walls of Jericho.
All about this one. And in fact, it makes me double down on what we said about the greatest hits, that it shouldn't be on there. And I hate to say it, but like this record, this is the one that should have been on there. And maybe another Al Green record should have been on here too. Probably, yeah, obviously. That one. And you could even argue for a third, I would guess. I don't know what it is, but I'm assuming. But this record is really great. Why put the greatest hits on there when you have this on here? And you have songs like you have first of all, there are 3 songs on this album that were on the greatest hits album.
Yeah.
I'm definitely against the same song, the same recording of the same song being on the list twice. Yep. For sure.
And I suspect that we are going to run into that again.
With a couple other greatest
I can't
hits.
fathom that Al Green Let's Stay Together is not on the list. The album Let's Stay Together.
It has to be, right?
It has to be. And so that's where again, I don't want to beat this dead horse, but
my opinion is
greatest hits album is just silly.
Not to cut to the chase, but take the greatest hits off, move this one up.
Yeah.
Because this is a fantastic record.
It is.
I love, I starred most songs on this, and Rolling Stone got it totally right. Like, he fucking covered a Hank Williams song and a Willie Nelson song. And he did really well with both of them.
I loved I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry.
Beautiful.
And that's the Willie cover. And that's
a bold move. That, you know what that kind of reminds me of?
What's that?
Isley Brothers. Some of the tunes that they covered.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did that too.
Just bold covers, which was a similar time, maybe a little bit later than this.
A little bit later, yeah.
But just a few short years.
No, actually, I think Isley's... I'm trying to scroll back and see when that Isley's album came out, because I want to say that the Isleys were a few years before. I feel like that Isley's Brother album was from 1971 is what I feel like. But either way, yeah, the balls.
What was the name of the record? 3+3?
Yeah, 3+3.
And that was 73. So that was the same year. Yeah.
Ballsy move.
Dude, like the covers these guys were doing in that time.
Yeah. I mean, just really, really wild to go so far outside of your wheelhouse and outside of your genre. But I really love that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But yeah, definitely. But this album is just classic Al Green. I mean,
yeah.
The strings, the guitar playing. I'm in love with the guitar player, Teeny Hodges. On this record.
Yeah.
So good. He has this kind of style that in terms of like definition reminds me of Jimi Hendrix, not in terms of style at all, but in terms of the fact that he's playing rhythm and lead at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is what Jimi Hendrix kind of popularized. Using chord shapes that made it more ergonomic to add extra notes to them, whereas other guitar players would you either had a rhythm guitar player and you had a lead guitar player. But Jimi Hendrix kind of revolutionized that, in that, he was just one guy and he was doing both at the same time. And Teeny Hodges does that throughout this. He's so understated though. He's so subtle. He never takes the forefront really. Teeny Hodges, no, not Jimi Hendrix. Obviously he does that, but
a little bit.
Yeah, but Teeny Hodges, like, he's just understated, really restrained.
I love the tone.
Just
I love
beautiful.
The tone.
It's like he has the tone knob rolled back a little bit because it's a little bit. It's almost muddy, but in a nice way. You know what I mean? Not muddy, but
I think it's soft.
Soft, yeah.
Right. You get that soft, but like
kind of mid-rangey.
Yeah, clear definition. Right, clear definition in all of the chords and everything that he's playing. But it's not screamy. Because sometimes you can get like that really kind of screamy guitar tone, and there's none of that.
No, there's no It's not overly trebly.
No,
It's just
it reminds me of like a really classic jazz guitar.
it's tender.
Yeah.
And he has the tone knob rolled off for sure because it's not trebly.
No.
Um,
I love it.
yeah, fantastic. I love the strings throughout this one. I love almost all of the hooks. One of my favorite songs is Here I Am, Come and Take Me.
Mhm.
My favorite part is when it switches to the chorus and he goes, Here I am. That little horn line, dude, it's like 3 notes and it fucking melts me.
Yeah. I literally wrote that chorus is $, $, $.
Yeah. Where it drops
just
into the
so
chorus
funny.
and they change keys.
Yes.
And the horns go. That's literally what the line is, but it's just so badass. It reminds me of like Respect.
Yeah. I love Call Me though.
Aretha Franklin.
I really
Call
really
Me
love
so
Call Me,
good.
Come Back Home. That
I really
song
love
is
Have You Been
amazing.
Making Out Okay?
Yes. Yeah,
Have you been making out okay?
the
Such
pocket.
tender vocals, dude.
Well, in the pocket that the rhythm section makes on that song is totally obscene.
And the guitar solo that closes that is incredible, dude. So what I'll do is like sometimes towards the end of a song, I'll move on and I'll start writing like the title of the next song. And then what I did was I like started writing the Stand Up, which is the next song. And I didn't leave room to write anything. And I had to shove in, holy shit, that guitar solo at the end was incredible. You know, so good.
Yeah.
And lots of
love it.
horns. Yeah. So this is the one that, in my opinion, that should be on the list. Everything's amazing about this. I think it should move up on the list. I did add digital
How far up are you moving this?
between 200 and 300.
Wow. I don't know that I want to push it that far, only because I want to see, like I said, I suspect that we haven't seen the last of Al Green, and so
It'll depend on that. Yeah.
I want to hear Let's Stay Together because Let's Stay Together could be the album that I do want to push up like that far.
Yeah.
And this one I might be willing to let hang back a little bit.
If Let's Stay Together is not on here, like I would argue between 2 and 220 would be a good spot for this.
Yeah, if this is the last that we see of Al Green, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Because his voice is really, really special.
And I'll look for the vinyl.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I also added it to digital.
Bold moves were taken on this record and it paid off.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Listen, and I did add it to digital. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even tell you just to listen to one because this is only this is another 33 minute album. And I would tell you just listen to the whole thing because you're not going to be disappointed.
My favorite song off of it is Here I Am, though. I do think.
Yeah.
With that horn line.
It's and again, another comment that I made specific to that song is that it was the best song so far on the album.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get, no offense, Jesus Is Waiting.
Oh, I did want to mention the Jesus Is Waiting. Incredible, dude. That's a gospel rocker that lasts it's the longest tune by far.
Very long.
And it's just straight gospel. It sticks with the same chord progression. It's just Al Green preaching the whole time. I can't believe I didn't mention that yet. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And there's this one time, like halfway through, where this acoustic guitar comes in. It's like down, 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 down. It's like just a little pentatonic solo, and it's just so nice.
It's a cool little snapshot in time too, because eventually Al Green does go on to do like just a lot of gospel work and stuff like that. And so this is definitely speaking to that.
Yep.
Rex, before we move on, because I know we're going to end up spending time with Lucinda Williams. I love Rex, friend of the show, all caps. He even increased the font size to say Reverend Al motherfucking Green.
Hell yeah.
With a whole bunch of exclamation points. He loves this. He just loves this album. He says that he puts this on whenever it's time for sexing.
He really does?
And this one in particular.
This album in particular. Interesting.
He does. He actually I just want to go back because Rex.
Interesting insight into Rex's life.
Yeah, and Rex is home gaming this with us, which is amazing. We're gonna have Rex on the show at some point in time as well, probably multiple times as a guest, just because he's playing this all along with me. So this is what he says about Husker Du, because that's a friction point for us. He says, reminiscent vocals of Frank Black of the Pixies on a couple of tracks. It's punk. It's clear to me that Husker Du was a cult favorite in the music world. Great album. jamming riffs, and a crunchy sound that gets stuck in your teeth, and you don't mind. So
He likes
was
it.
down. He was down. And then the Four Tops. Yeah, he loves it. Fantastic harmonies, classical instruments, classic Motown sound that I absolutely adore. The strength in Levi Stubbs' voice is so impressive. I love everything about this album. Not bad for a group that's been putting out albums for 50 years. Amen, brother. Amen.
Hell yeah, Rex.
And actually, before we even get into it, the next album that we're going to talk about, he thinks that he brings up Sheryl Crow multiple times, right? And he says that in his mind, you can sense where Sheryl Crow got her influence from Lucinda Williams. Great storytelling, couple of tracks. I thought I was listening to Sheryl Crow.
I hear it.
But he likes it. So
I hear it. Although I think
segue.
It's better for me.
I'm there with you. Let's talk about it, though.
Yes, let's do. So coming in at 426 is Lucinda Williams' self-titled record from 1988. I'm not sure. Was it her debut?
No, this was her third album.
Debuted third album. Self-titled third album. That's what I was trying to say. From Rolling Stone. In 1988, this album didn't make sense. It was twangy, but it wasn't country. It rocked, but it wasn't rock. It was blue, but it wasn't the blues. Williams hadn't released an album in 8 years, perhaps worn down by the lack of attention her music received. That began to change with this self-titled LP recorded with a taut 3-piece band. Her consistent theme is longing, as evidenced in I Just Wanted to See You So Bad and Passionate Kisses. But there's also defiance and desperation in Change to the Locks, later covered by Tom Petty. I didn't know that, man. I want to hear that Tom Petty version.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're both kind of in love with Lucinda Williams. At least I know that I am.
I can't believe that I can't believe that this was the first time that I had heard this album.
Yeah, for me, this is another one of those like, holy shit, where have you been all my life?
Yeah,
situations.
where have I been? Yeah, where have I been?
Why
where has
didn't
she been?
Yeah.
It's so far ahead of its time, too.
Yeah.
Like that was the thing.
This is alt country.
This is alt. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is, no shit. It was twangy, but it wasn't country. It rocked, but it wasn't rock. And it blues, but it wasn't blue. Yeah. Because they didn't really know what to call this until you start to get into bands like Wilco and My Morning Jacket. And you start to get this fusion of sounds where people that enjoy rock and country, they found a niche, right?
And speaking of this, I was going to get into this, but in her phrasing, in her lyric writing, and her songwriting and arranging, but specifically in the way that she phrases lyrics in verses and choruses, Jason Isbell, dude, was hugely influenced by her. I guarantee it.
Yes.
Because like there were several songs where it literally sounds like Crescent City, not to jump ahead, but number 9, track number 9. I mean, if Isbell was singing this, I would have believed he wrote this. I mean, it even had a fiddle in it.
I love that fiddle.
Yeah.
Man alive, did I love that fiddle.
So I'm not going to, beat around the bush. I starred every song, every single one. I loved every song. Some songs I had 2 stars on, but every song had at least 1. There was not a single song I didn't like. This is one of my new favorite albums. And she, I'm going to say it. She's my favorite female country artist. Deal's done. Literally. Why is she not in the Highway Women?
Are you legitimately you're calling her a country artist though?
Well, I mean, you call like Jason Isbell a country artist, right? I mean, in terms of like she's alt country, but I'm gonna say she's my favorite among all of it.
I'm gonna call her a singer-songwriter. And that's a dumb, shitty label.
Yeah, it's kind of a cop-out, dude. Well, it's not really genre specific.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense. But there is that niche of music that I think. I mean, Jason Isbell, right? Because I don't know that I'm ready to ascribe Jason Isbell to country music.
Yeah.
It sounds, there are tracks.
But if you were to describe him, like the way I think about it is like if you were to describe to someone that didn't know what it was, you'd probably say Jason Isbell is country-ish, right? You'd say Southern rock country.
I would most likely say there's definitely country influence there. There's definitely folk influence there. And with Jason Isbell, I would say that there's absolutely rock influence too.
There's
Southern rock influence.
And it's similar, but I'm saying like, I mean, so the other female artists that I would consider, I mean, like Bonnie Raitt is more of a blues artist, but I would kind of somewhat consider her in a similar vein to Lucinda Williams, you know,
See, now
Susan Tedeschi.
Yeah, Bonnie Raitt sounds more country to me
than country blues,
than what Lucinda Williams does. And and Susan Tedeschi sounds a lot more bluesy to me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But Lucinda Williams is the top for me, man.
She's unbelievable. Like I added this to digital because this is an album that I've already listened to 3 or 4 times.
And this is
I'm going to listen to it a bunch more. And I desperately want to find this on vinyl because this is a recording that I think the vinyl will sound. I think you'll get that warmth and that fullness, and it will give this music in particular an extra dimension. And I'm with you. I loved everything. I didn't star anything because it was pointless to me. Like by the time that I got to the 3rd song,
they're all so good.
They're all so good that the only thing that I did do is I picked a couple of what I would call standouts just because we like to give people, hey, if you're only going to listen to 1 or 2, just listen to this.
What were those for you?
I'm
me, curious.
I Am Too Blue.
Am I Too Blue?
Yes. Yep. Am I Too Blue? I'm sorry.
So for me, I wrote that was like the most traditional country so far. It's like a basic, like in terms of the music theory nerds that are listening, it's a 1, 2, 5. Mm-hmm. And it's just, that's the whole time. It's a pretty traditional country song.
I totally adored Like a Rose though.
Like a Rose was so good. Ballad, but almost like alt rocky. And like, you know what it reminded me of? Velvet Underground.
Yeah, sure. Nico.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Nico and Velvet Underground. I heard that a ton.
Beautiful solos on the dobro and the violin in that song.
That fiddle, man, fiddle in that song. And then just the lyrical content.
And I'm a dobro sucker too, dude. I love that shit. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I'm down with it. I'm a way bigger sucker for a fiddle, probably.
Yeah.
I love a good fiddle, especially in a ballad. And man, this thing delivered. And it was so poetically beautiful. Like her lyrical content is
so good, dude. Top notch.
So good.
And Am I Too Blue? I wrote down and I'm gonna add that to my solo repertoire.
To your solo repertoire.
Yeah, seriously, I'm gonna cover that one.
I love it.
Hopefully I do a decent job.
What did you think about the harmonies?
You know, they were good.
I loved them,
but they didn't stick out to me as much because I was just so in love with Lucinda's voice that I was so focused on her.
And they were buried in a way because most of those harmonies were done by the guitar player on the album, and they weren't super over the top, right? These aren't the 4 tops type of harmonies in here.
No, it's really more about Lucinda.
It's really, really subtle, but I love it. It just added another layer that slid underneath her voice, and her voice her voice stays over the top, and her voice is front and center.
Yeah,
through this whole thing.
Yeah,
but I like the depth that the harmonies provided when they were there, because they're not ever present. You don't get them on every song. You don't get a fiddle on every song. Like you really get instrumentation specific to the song and specific to the sound that she was going for, which I love, and I really appreciate that you get that diversity of depth and that diversity of instrumentation throughout the album.
Absolutely. What about Abandoned? Did you like that one?
Oh yeah.
It's like a country song, but it has a straight up like 80s rock guitar part to it and a guitar solo. And it honestly kind of reminded me of Warren Zevon, who's like one of my favorite artists of all time.
Yeah, and I see there was nothing on this album that I once said, oh, that reminds me of.
Yeah.
But that is what made this album so impactful for me, is that she is, in my mind, this is a wholly original artist creating her own art.
Basically spawning alt country.
I
Right?
think that, yes, I think that you could absolutely make that argument. But with Abandon, one of the things that I noted on here is I wrote the emotional weight of this material. It's crazy that this was recorded in 1988.
Yeah, dude, seriously. Lyrically, just really fantastic, but on all of them too.
Yeah. The voice, her, everyone, like a couple of times in Abandon, she got this little bit of crack to the voice
Mhm.
that I love that. I love,
Dude,
love that.
I fell in love with her. You could consider this my official marriage proposal to Lucinda Williams. If you're listening, Lucinda, let me know what you think. I mean,
You guys could do duets together
yeah.
of Lucinda Williams covers.
Sorry, Katie.
Okay. So with that being said, now let's yeah. You got our take on Lucinda
I
Williams.
added to digital, and I will look for the vinyl for sure.
Yes.
And yes, for the list, it should be higher.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I'm there with you too.
So this is a fantastic album. That being said, it's time for a recap.
Let's do the recap.
Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's where I'm going.
At the end of each set of 25 records, me and Mike like to go back through and pick out our favorite from each 5, and then our favorite from the 25. Okay. Yep. So we're going to go back and do a little recap and discuss what came from 450 through 426.
Can I go first?
Yeah, you go
totally
first.
Ready.
Do you want to read the first 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So with the first 5 that we did, we had Paul and Linda McCartney Ram. We had the White Stripes Elephant. We had Otis Redding Dictionary of Soul. We had Bad Bunny X100 Pre. Oh, sorry. I don't know where that noise.
So that wasn't your pick?
And then my pick out of that first top 5, and holy hell do I love this thing. I've spun this vinyl 10 times since I picked it up at least. And I've driven a lot of people in my house nuts because this record is so crazy and they don't get it, but that's okay. They don't get it. It's Alice Coltrane's Journey into Satchidananda. How about you? What'd you like in that first 5?
We're going to be on the same page with that one.
Fucking
Alice Coltrane. Close second would be, well, I love White Stripes.
I love White Stripes too.
But I love Otis Redding as well. I mean, those are all close. That's the thing, is these are all close seconds. Even not so much Ram. I did like Ram, Paul McCartney, but it's not a contender in terms of the other 3. As much as Mike loved Bad Bunny, we have to go with Alice Coltrane. Okay, I'm just joking. Neither of us liked Bad Bunny, but yeah, terrible. Alice Coltrane.
All right, what do you got?
Okay, 445 through 441. Yes, Close to the Edge. Fiona Apple, Extraordinary Machine. David Bowie, Scary Monsters. The Weeknd, Beauty Behind the Madness. And Britney Spears, Blackout.
It's Britney, bitch.
It's Britney, bitch. For this, it's a toss-up for me, and it's between Yes and Fiona Apple. And I'm probably going to go with Yes.
Oh, fucking
but
powerhouse,
I can't decide,
dude.
How about you?
Yeah.
Are we gonna have the same picks throughout this whole thing?
We're kind of samesies so far. Listen, I think that we're gonna get some variation. At least I would hope so.
But Fiona Apple is like real close behind for me. I love that Fiona Apple record.
I enjoyed it, but for me, it's not as close of a race because that Close to the Edge blew me away. And that's another one that shout out to my man JB who hooked me up with that vinyl, because I've spun that one a couple of times too, much to the chagrin of other people in my house.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. It kind of drives them
happy
nuts.
To do it, man.
Yeah, because it's way out there. But I love that record. So
good.
All right. For the next 5, we had Loretta Lynn, Coal Miner's Daughter at 440. We had James Brown's Sex Machine at 439. Blur's Park Life at 438. Primal Scream, Screamadelica at 437. And then All Eyes on Me, Tupac at 436. Who'd you like there?
Hell yeah. For this one, I'm picking Primal Scream. I'm going to pass over James Brown as much as I love that record. That the Screamadelica was just such a surprise for me. Such a just joyous surprise that I'm going with that.
This might be the hardest block for me, only because I love All Eyes on Me. It's one of my favorite hip hop albums.
And I do too.
It's a double album. I love that album, and I love Tupac. But I think for me, out of those 5, it's James Brown.
Oh, really?
Sex Machine smashed.
Yeah,
It's just smashed, and I loved it.
totally.
Loved it.
Totally.
All right.
435 through 431. Pet Shop Boys, Actually. Pavement, Crooked Rain, LCD Sound System, Sound of Silver. Usher, Confessions. Los Lobos, How Will the Wolf Survive? I think we're going to have the same pick here.
This one's not even difficult for me.
This is an easy one.
Yeah, LCD Sound System is
Usher. Oh. No. Definitely. Yeah. No, I'm that was a joke. Definitely LCD Sound System. Yeah.
That is so good, top notch. And then obviously we've done our 5 this week, and we're gonna. Well, I don't know. What are you gonna say? You're gonna put Husker Du above Lucinda Williams?
No, I'm going with Lucinda for sure.
She's a beast, absolute beast. Okay, now if you had to pick one out of all 25 of those,
fucking tough, dude. Really, this is hard for me.
It's not hard for me.
Is it not?
It's not
is it
hard
James
for me.
Brown?
No, it's LCD Sound System.
Is it? Okay.
That album, I've got so much history with that album, and that album, again, you know, thinking back to my friend that passed away, and there's deep emotional connections with me with that album, and I'm not gonna be able to break that, not even for the Sex Machine.
Yeah,
for Mr. James Brown or Lucinda, which
God,
I really
dude.
loved that Lucinda Williams record.
I'm actually struggling here. I'm going to be honest with you. So for me, it's between Yes, Close to the Edge, Screamadelica.
If you're gonna say the last 5 albums that you just fucking said, that doesn't work. You got to pick one.
Well, no, I'm gonna pick one. I'm just talking about it out loud. It's
Talking
between
through your
Yes,
process.
Screamadelica, and the other 3. No, and Lucinda. Fuck, man.
Spotlight's on.
I'm going with Screamadelica. I'm doing it.
Wow,
I loved that one.
I love that, dude.
Yeah.
I really love that pick because I love that record, and you know, maybe I'm just trying to be a little bit contrary by picking James Brown out of that 5 because
No, I think that's a good
I'm
pick
with you
too.
in terms of the shock value for maybe what I thought it was going to be
Yeah,
and what it ended up being.
because a lot of those were like
Was
albums
mind-boggling.
that I already loved. Like I already loved the Tupac record.
Yeah.
So it was just such a shock when I got something that was just something just out of the blue that I didn't expect. So
New and
I was
different.
trying to decide between, you know, Screamadelica and Lucinda Williams, and I love Lucinda, but I got to pick Screamadelica.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. All right. So we're getting ready. We're going to take a short little break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do the bonus episode. And this week for the bonus, we're going back to the Reddit snub list. This week, we're going to do the debut album from Alice in Chains entitled Facelift. It smashes. So stick around for that.
Yep.
And next week, we're going to be moving on again down the big list. So next week at number 425, we're going to have the debut solo album, I should say, by Paul Simon, self-titled.
I've already listened to this. I'm ahead.
I listened to like half of it.
Did you?
Did you take notes on it too?
No, I've just done my
okay.
cold listen.
Cold listen.
But
Okay.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Coming in at 424 is going to be Beck Odelay.
That'll be fun to revisit.
Dude, this is a fun week.
Where it's at. I know this is a fun
2
week.
turntables and a microphone.
So after Beck's Odelay at 423, we have Yo La Tengo. I Can Hear the Heart Beating as One. Have you listened to
Ooh.
Yo La Tengo?
No,
Neither have I.
have not.
I'm intrigued though.
That'd
I'm
be a
ready.
fun listen for both of us.
Absolutely.
Another Marvin Gaye at 422. Let's get it on, baby.
Fuck yes.
I added the baby.
I can't wait. I love Marvin Gaye. Can't wait for it.
Oh yeah.
The last thing that we're gonna hear next week, I fly like paper, get high.
So
like
is that on this
planes.
record? I was wondering.
Fuck yeah, that's on this.
Dude, that is such a good
I
song.
love Paper Planes. 421 MIA, the album Arular. Arular.
Good luck. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm glad you got that one.
I'm gonna say Arular.
That sounds pretty good.
From MIA. So that's what we're going to be talking about next week. Be sure to join us. We're going to be remote again next week, so we're going to do the best we can in terms of technical difficulties and everything else. But as always, we appreciate you. We appreciate all of you for listening. If you're playing along, play along with us. You can always interact with us by going to www.anchor.fm/this list sucks. You can find all of our episodes there. You can find links to everything, and you can also leave us a voice message. So
Please do that.
yeah,
Yep.
if you would like to leave us a voice message, we like to play voice messages as long as they don't consider it, as long as you don't put anything racist on there.
That's our one rule.
We're not going to play your message if it's filled with a bunch of racist shit.
Shout out to Jimmy Smitherson.
Fucking Jimmy. You can also interact with us on social. We were up on Facebook. We've got Insta. We
have
just set up
Twitter
a
now.
Twitter
Yeah.
account now. And of course, we're streaming all of this live to YouTube as well if you like YouTube. So if
Yes.
you're watching us on YouTube, please hit subscribe. And yeah.
And I did want to mention, we would really appreciate it if the people that are listening every week, if you could go and subscribe to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It really makes a difference. It seems like a simple thing, but it helps us get higher on the algorithms. So if you can
Ooh.
go in there and
Help our
just
algorithms.
yeah, we're having so much fun, and we just want to keep doing this.
Yeah,
for sure. And if we can get more people involved, that would be even more fun.
Yeah, so tell your friends.
If you listen on Spotify, subscribe, follow us on Spotify. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, follow us there. If you wouldn't mind hopping onto YouTube and subscribing to us on there, that would be great. We'd really appreciate it. So
Absolutely.
thank you very much.
And we appreciate your time.
Yep.
Love the fact that you're listening. Hope that you enjoy the show. Interact with us. Oh, you can send us an email at thislistsucks@gmail.com. So let's get going. Upwards and onwards. And we're rapidly approaching the century mark.
Yes, we are.
3/4 of the way through the first 20% of this dog shit list.
Pretty exciting. It's almost champagne time.
Almost champagne time. All right.
The
So
bonus list soon to come.
Absolutely. Thanks for sticking around. Love
Thanks,
y'all.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Love you.
This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Bye-bye. Outro.